Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nayaswami Padma, and I'm here today to bring you the excerpt from Yogananda's original teachings. This case, I'm still reading out of Swami Kriyananda's autobiography, The New Path, and I'm still reading in the chapter where he's living with Yogananda at the ashram. The chapter is entitled Work versus Meditation. I worked as hard at meditation as I did during the day at my various jobs. Too hard, Master once told me. In meditation, you should emphasize relaxation more. I soon learned that the adage, "Don't put all your eggs in one basket," is as true for spiritual as for mundane expectations. During my Saturday meditations, I had been going deeper and deeper into inner stillness. Just a little more effort, I began to think, and surely I'll slip into full superconsciousness. One Saturday morning, I entered my cave with the determination not to stop meditating until this goal had been achieved. For 9 hours, I sat continuously applying all the willpower I could summon. In the end, exhausted, I had to admit defeat. If I'd stopped short of exhaustion, I might have avoided discouragement and salvaged enough confidence to keep on trying over successive Saturdays. But as it was, though I continued to meditate regularly, months passed before I could again make a really deep effort. It was from this failure, in fact, that my obsession with drowsiness began. What an interesting paradox, what an interesting juxtaposition we live in. On the one hand, trying really hard, concentrating the best that we possibly can, and on the other hand, needing to be relaxed, trying to focus, and at the same time being relaxed. When we're so accustomed that focus requires sort of furrowing our eyebrows and, just knitting them and being very serious and very intent on what we're doing. Whereas in meditation, when we learn to still the mind, when we try pointedly to concentrate the mind on God, you see, concentration is concentrating, putting our focus on one thing. Meditation is one-pointed concentration on God. So when we work at stilling the mind, when we use the techniques of meditation, of Hong Sau, the Om technique, Kriya, when we use our meditative practices to slowly begin to still the mind, to one-pointedly concentrate on the divine, so that everything else becomes, like a blur in the background, because all we see is the divine, all we see is God. That's when we learn that focus can be also calm and relaxed, deeply relaxed at the same time. It's not easy because we've had millions of incarnations in these egos where we've learned that concentration means, has an intensity, has a very intense component to it. And letting go of that, we can only do it through the actual experience, the tangible, visceral experience of being focused, yet being centered and being calm. I was watching a talk by Swami Kriyananda recently with some of my friends, and one of them was observing the fact that he seemed so calm and so centered and yet so wise and not at all nervous with, the public speaking that he was doing, but more importantly, calm and centered in how he shared the teachings. And that ability to be focused, to be incredibly deep and poignant in the points that he was making, and yet the words, the wisdom was just, rolling from his tongue, you might say, because he was focused but relaxed at the same time. Yogananda was the same way. He was always very dignified, very refined in his sharing of the teachings publicly. And yet he showed the way of being focused, yet being calm, relaxed, and centered. And as Swami Kriyananda shared in his story, it was in this period when he was so intense himself in, trying to do his best and trying to do the right things, sort of holding it, as if gripping it was somehow going to make it right. It was in that same period when he started becoming sleepy and drowsy during his meditation. That was the test, and it was a rude awakening, but it was a beautiful awakening because he learned it, he got it, and he practiced it. And so years later, friends were able to sit around and watch his talks and say, how can he be so focused and calm at the same time? That's what's possible for each and every one of us. Joy to you, and we'll see you again next week. Many blessings now. Bye-bye.